Hi, I'm Supervisor Don Knabe. I'm pleased to welcome you back to another episode of Dialed In. Winter is here in Los Angeles County, and while it might be a little cold for a trip to the beach or a barbecue in the park, the weather is perfect for a trip to one of Los Angeles County's museums. We are home to a host of unique museums, providing our residents with art, history, and culture from all over the world. And some of the county's most unique places to visit reside within the county's family of the Natural History Museums. The Page Museum at the Brea Tar Pits, the Los Angeles County Museum of Natural History, and the William S. Hart Museum. Each of these museums holds critical history and culture from Los Angeles County that you can't find anywhere else. And joining me today are two individuals who will introduce to you one of the county's largest museums, as well as one very special museum you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to Dialed In. Our first guest today is the director of the Natural History Museum, Dr. Jane Pisano. Under her watch, the Natural History Museum has amassed one of the world's most extensive and valuable collections of natural and cultural history. More than 35 million objects, some even as old as 4.5 billion years. So we're honored to have Dr. Pisano with us today and welcome her. Jane, great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So what exactly is? I'm going to ask you questions that I think I know the answers to give you my own test. So what is the Museum of Natural History?
The Natural History Museum is actually a family of museums. It is the large facility in Exposition Park. It is the Page Museum at the Brea Tar Pits and the Hart Ranch in Santa Clarita. All together, these institutions are studying the relation between nature and culture and looking at change over time and why it matters.
Well, sometimes the word Natural History Museum is sort of a, it's sort of confusing to people because you cover so much. I mean, give us an example of some of the exhibits that you've had during your tenure or even before.
Well, of course, the exhibit at the Page Museum at the Brea Tar Pits is really the collection of the fossils that were dug at Hancock Park. And it explains in great detail why the tar pits matter and why they are not only about the past, a record of the past, but they're a really important source of information about things like climate change for the present and the future. At the Natural History Museum, we have had so many exhibits, and of course I'm proudest of the permanent exhibits that have just been completed and opened, such as our new dinosaur hall.
Amazing. You've got to see that.
It's the point of the exhibit is really to help people of all ages understand how we know what we know about dinosaurs, how scientists do their work, and of course the message that we're sending to the children is that you can grow up and be a dinosaur too.
Well, and I mean, in that dinosaur exhibit, I've taken my grandkids there, and you can build a dinosaur. You can recognize the bones and put it all together. I took them to the tar pits. They were just absolutely fascinated by both the Page Museum as well as the tar pits.
This is a museum. All of the museums really have something for everyone. Our core audience are families, and our core audience are overwhelmingly citizens of Los Angeles County.
And they come from all over.
They come from all over.
And we also get a lot of people, just travelers, visitors to our country, as an example. Not just our county, but people from all over the world. I've been in there, and you see multicultural kinds of people walking through and talking and getting excited, whether it's a kid or whether it's a senior citizen. So what have been some of the most popular exhibits that you've had, let's say, at Exposition Park?
Well, dinosaurs tops the list. If you ask people why they've come to the museum today, it's always dinosaurs if they name something. But we have a wonderful exhibit called Age of Mammals, which is about how continents shift and climate changes and how mammals have evolved over time. The key to these exhibits is to have something for everyone. We call our audience streakers, strollers, and readers.
Streakers.
So the streakers are going quickly through the exhibit, but we want them to get something important out of every place that they visit at the museum, whereas the readers, we know, are going to read every word.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's always exciting to me, being a member of the Board of Supervisors and being one of your partners over there at the museum to see how many times you see the museum in films. There's a lot of filming goes on, a lot of, you know, dark nights and, you know, I mean, not just the night museum that everybody talks about, I mean, but the whole thing. So we do a lot of filming down there.
We do a lot of filming, and in fact, after the movie Night at the Museum came out, we actually had an exhibit of the props that were used in that movie, and the public really enjoyed it.
Right, and you also had some overnight programs for kids as well, right?
For kids and adults.
Oh, is that right?
So we have opportunities for kids and adults to spend the night at the museum and participate in the programming. We don't have any dinosaurs who get loose, however. I have to say that.
You better say that. I mean, you know, there may be ghosts of William S. Hart or something, but we don't have any dinosaurs being loose either. So you have an incredible outreach program to the community and schools. So can you give us some sort of idea about that, about how your outreach program works in the schools and both coming in as well as going out?
We do. We're really proud of the fact that we serve 240,000 children and teachers every year. It's a lot.
240,000. That's
240,000. Now that's at all 3 locations.
That's still a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. Every year we make that program stronger and better. It's a very important part of our mission to get children onto the campus of our institutions so that they can touch and feel and see and have an opportunity to learn science in a very different way than they do sitting in their seats in a classroom.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I know growing up and going to museums, I lived in Quad City, Rock Island, Illinois, but got to go to Chicago to museums. We didn't really have much museums where I grew up. But it was sort of a whole different experience. It wasn't an exciting experience where you just sort of go and look and read and do that. Now, like in your museums, I mean, I just watch my grandkids and granddaughters and just, they're fascinated because you've made the entire museum not only educational but interactive.
Yeah, I will tell you in all humility that our museums have put Los Angeles in the forefront of the focus on the visitor and the visitor experience. What we do not do is have our researchers put their research like a book on a wall. We really think about who are our visitors, what's going to interest them, and once here, what's going to cause them to come back again and again.
Yeah, because it can't be a one-time experience.
It can't.
So explain, you know, some of the backroom kinds of things. I mean, it's not backroom in the sense of tours and things, but you also have large visible windows where you see some of your curators working on different things and preserving history. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
We do, and we have associated with those exhibits, we have real dinosaur bones that you can touch and rub. A bone that's 65 million years old. Think about it. Think about how astonishing that is to a child or an adult.
I mean, and even a youngster, but I mean, a senior citizen would be more appreciative of touching a 65 million year old bone than maybe a child wouldn't realize or appreciate that. So do you still have the butterfly exhibit?
Oh yes, and the butterfly exhibit will be opening soon. We always open it in the spring, and it'll be open through the summer. We'll make a big deal about it. There'll be banners everywhere, you'll know.
I'll tell you what, I mean, that's another incredible experience, and just to watch kids, and when a butterfly lands on their shoe or on their finger or on their shoulder, it's quite an experience.
Yeah, it is.
And what about the bug display?
Well, we certainly have a bug display in our Discovery Center, and one of our highest priorities for next year is going to be to even make that better than it is now. And one of the things that we have that's very new is just an extended focus on insects and other examples of wildlife in Los Angeles County. We're asking our children and our adults to put their nature eyes on and understand the wild nature that's all around us. For example, Supervisor, did you know that Los Angeles is the birdiest county in the United States?
The birdiest county?
The birdiest county. We have more species of birds than any county in the United States. And what we're going to do is present all this in our new nature gardens and give our visitors a chance to be citizen scientists at the museum and where they live, and share the information and the excitement.
So you probably have like an interactive map where these various birds live. And
we do, and we also have Wi-Fi coming to the museum, so all our technology is going to move faster. But what it means is that, oh, somebody who's living in Catalina, say, can take a photograph of some interesting lizard or insect and send it to us, and it will go on a map in our nature lab. So that in kind of real time, you'll say, this is where I am, this is what I see, and it will pop onto the map.
That would really be cool. In Avalon and Catalina, I've been out there to watch the eagles. You know, they're fascinated by eagles, and to be able to do that in real time and be over here and not have to be out there in the middle of Catalina Island, that'd be spectacular for the kids. I mean,
right.
So what have your attendance level's been pretty good?
Our attendance goes up every year. So now last year we were over 1 million visitors. And this year, the year that we're in now that ends on June 30th, we'll do more. We'll do 10 or 20% more than that.
So does the museum do any research into the communities? I mean, as far as, like out there visibly working to ascertain certain artifacts or do anything like that?
Absolutely. In fact, one of our star finds happened in your district in coastal San Pedro, where a young boy found the first established colony of Indo-Pacific house geckos. And that was actually a page 1 story in the LA Times recently. You might remember that.
That's right. That's why I asked you the question. I want to make sure you mention my district.
It's very exciting. We
No,
found
it really
other
was.
things.
It was pretty cool.
There are other things that are very cool. In fact, because your district is a coastal district, you have lots of interesting discoveries that are happening there, and these kids are working directly with the museum's researchers. So they're not only experiencing the thrill of discovery, but they're seeing what it's like to be a real scientist.
And who knows what their future brings to them.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the educational piece. I mean, that's how you touch the lives of young people and sort of recreate, so we have a history of artifacts. So what's in store for 2014 for the rest of the year? Any special programs coming in? You mentioned you're going to open the butterfly.
Yeah, we have Traveling the Silk Road, which is proving to be a very popular exhibit, with a wonderful passport, because the exhibit goes from Xi'an in China to Baghdad in Iraq, and lots of knowledge about the places along the Silk Road where kids can bring passports and get them stamped in the museum. We have a Summer of Nature coming up, where we're going to have a heavy emphasis on helping people learn how to be citizen scientists and asking them to stay in touch with us when they go back to their homes, to their communities, and stay connected via the email.
Yeah, I mean, social media, that's got to be a great interaction now.
It's changed everything. It's changed the way we get our message out about what's going on at the museum, and it's given us a chance to stay close to people who are excited about our programs, even in those times when they're not physically able to come. And
one of the great things I always find about museums is, I mean, they're just sort of the crown jewels of our cultural activity here in Los Angeles County that people don't know, but obviously they know quite a bit about the big museum, the Museum of Natural History, but some of the others, whether it be the Hart, whether it be the Tar Pits. Tar Pits are famous as well too, but the Hart Museum and some of the other activities that we have. And you've really done a good job over the last number of years in, I say, re-promoting or reinventing the Museum of Natural History. You've changed your logo to, what, MNH, or how do we do that now? Museum?
NHM.
NHM. And, just trying to revitalize it and to bring people back. And that's, when I'm out in the community, that's the thing that people talk about, is the experience that they've had, because you concentrate so much on the visitor, but that they do want to come back. So just thank you for the job you do and continue to do. We always appreciate your great efforts, appreciate you taking the time to join me today and talk a little bit more about the Museum of Natural History and all the other facilities that you operate and run. Great job. Thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for your support, Supervisor Knabe. These are tremendous jewels for our community. Absolutely. And they are so because of the constancy and consistency of the county's support over many, many years. Over many, many years. How old is the museum now? The museum is 100. Well, right. Actually, we're in our 101st year. That's right. We just celebrated the 100th birthday. So that's a long time, too. It's not 65 million. Right? No. Years like a bone, but it's 100 years old, and to have a museum of that class and quality as part of our Los Angeles County family. makes myself proud, but makes all of us honored. And thanks again for being here.
When a child is born, it should be the happiest time in one's life. But for some, it's just too difficult to handle. Think before you do the unthinkable. There is an option. Don't abandon your baby.
Hi, welcome back to Dialed In. My next guest is Rachel Barnes, the Education and Volunteer Coordinator at the William S. Hart Museum, one of our smaller county museums, but a real jewel located in the Santa Clarita Valley. You may not know as much about this museum, but it's one of those special places that we are very fortunate to have as part of the Los Angeles County family. Thanks, Rachel, for joining me today. I appreciate you coming down.
Well, thank you, Supervisor.
So some people may not know who William S. Hart is, or I heard you refer to him as Bill Hart. Tell us about him.
Oh, well, Bill Hart was a very successful, very famous movie star. But granted, he was a movie star almost 100 years ago. So he was from the silent era exclusively, and a very popular Western film star.
Well, and how did this museum all of a sudden been named in his honor? I mean, 100 years ago is a long time, so somebody kept track of him, and now we have a William S. Hart Museum.
Now we have a William S. Hart Museum. Well, the museum itself is actually Bill Hart's former home. It is
is that right?
It is his 10,000 square foot mansion that he lived in after he finished his film career, and it sits on the top of the hill of his 150 plus acre horseshoe ranch that he owned.
So a 10,000 square foot mansion.
Yes.
Bill, what year was it, the home built in?
It was built in 1926.
Wow.
Over the course of 1926, 1927.
10,000 square foot mansion. I mean, that's a big one today.
That's a big one today, yes. But what's really amazing about the Hart house is even though it is such a large home, it feels like a very comfortable, livable residence. When you come in, you can see people actually living inside this house and enjoying it.
And this came to us, I think, through the Disney studios, or something to do with Disney?
Disney actually donated the original herd of bison, American bison, that live on the property. That's the connection that we have with Disney. So the property and the house had already become a park and museum. And when Walt decided to, pass on this herd of bison that he had in his studio out there in Santa Clarita, the park ended up acquiring those bison, and now descendants of that original herd, they still live in the park, so you can see them.
So the park is part of the museum. I mean, it's a whole...
We're all one big property. The park itself is managed by Los Angeles County Department of Parks and Rec, so they're a different business office and everything, but we work together to provide the experience of park and museum to the visitors.
So let's move inside. What kind of exhibits do you have?
Well, on display we have all of most of Bill Hart's personal furnishings and effects. It is a home, so we do have things like his flatware on his dining room tables and little things like books and tchotchkes and bric-a-brac that he collected over the years. But it is the home of a movie star. So there are quite a few luxuries that are in this house as well, at least by 1920 standards, and a lot of very fancy, innovative technology for that time period.
No Facebook or
no
iPod.
Facebook just
no
yet.
No iPods?
No iPods, but believe it or not, 2 electric refrigerators.
Wow.
2 electric refrigerators at a time when electric refrigeration was a brand new technology.
It was just coming out in the 20s.
They were just coming out in the 20s.
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I've heard about it and read about it.
I believe that. I believe that.
So what kind of activities do you have for families and the kids?
Families and the kids. Well, the museum itself, we try to do, different programs throughout the year, education programs that we put on. So we have workshops and things that we do post on our website. So everybody's always welcome to check that out for dates and upcoming events. The museum itself is visitable by guided tour. So when you come up to the mansion, as we call it, you are taken on a 30-minute walking tour of the home, led by one of our incredible team of docents that we have there. And then once you have completed your tour, you have all of these other amenities and features that you can see in the park itself. So if you're a hiker, we have hiking trails that take you all the way up into the hills behind the museum.
So you coordinate them with the Parks and Recreation Department, coordinates some of their activity with you, is that it?
We do. We have partnered together on activities in the past.
So what brings people out there? I mean,
What?
I mean, you know, Santa Clarita Valley, there's a lot of people up there. So, I mean, I know you have a built-in audience, but I assume as part of the museum family that you also have people that have sparked an interest for some reason to come to the museum that may not live locally.
That's very true. And that's one of the great things about us. No matter what you're interested in, there is something relevant to that interest at the Hart. And not only are we, completely free. So if you come to the park, if you come to the museum, everything that you do there is free. But we have all of these different options available. If you're interested in history, if you're interested in art, if you're interested in culture, if you're interested in animals, wildlife, all of that is part of the park and the museum, and you get a chance to experience that when you come visit us.
What about the film piece, the film history? Is there?
Film history, we talk about some of Hart's contemporaries like Charlie Chaplin and Douglas Fairbanks. He was making movies at the same time those guys were, so we do have that as well. We also have on display, you know, props, costumes, equipment that Bill Hart used during his film career.
Do you have any of the old silent movies that have been put on to DVD or something?
Oh, yeah. All of the Hart films that are available on DVD are for sale in our gift shop, our wonderful little gift shop that we have there as well. So, yes, you can, if you are inclined, sit down and watch a Bill Hart silent film.
Wow. So what have your attendance levels been? I mean, they've been good, steady?
They've been pretty steady, yeah. We see roughly the same number of visitors every year, and same thing with our school kids. We do get a lot of school kids that come out and visit us as well, so it's been pretty solid.
Do you have school programs where, like like an elementary school can bus in kids and
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We are a very important resource to the local elementary schools, especially for 3rd and 4th grade students because of our connection to Native American history and California history. So they do come out and visit us on field trips. And then we also visit them in the classroom. We have an outreach program as well. So
now, you mentioned to me earlier, I think off camera, you mentioned that it's a very small staff there, so you really rely on your docents and your docent program and the training. Maybe you could talk about the docents. Do the docents go into the schools as well?
Yes,
or just
they
the
do.
staff? Okay.
Yes, they do. If it weren't for our volunteers, I can say with 100% certainty we would just be a house on a hill. I mean, we wouldn't have any of the programs, we wouldn't do any of the fun things that we do with the public if it weren't for them. Because there is only 2 of us that are based at the Hart.
So what attracts it? What attracts the docents?
What attracts the docents?
Every little piece?
There are different aspects. I have some docents that are film buffs. They love film history. They love Bill Hart's place in that. I have some that are just interested in general California history or general local history, Santa Clarita history. I have some that are just interested in architecture. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but the house is actually built in Spanish colonial revival style, which has its own history around it. And there are a lot of really beautiful and amazing features inside the mansion, the house itself, that people come to see. So we have docents that are geared towards that. They are interested in that.
So when you speak of architecture, then, I mean, it seems to me, and again, I'll be honest, I have not been able to ever visited the museum out there, but the architecture, can you give us a little more detail on that as it relates to, I mean, it sounds like it was way ahead of its time. I mean, the home, the insides. Yes,
it was. It was way ahead of its time, but this particular style of architecture, very popular in Southern California at that time period.
Is it stucco kind of a?
Yeah, it's got that white, white stucco exterior to it, lots of really bright colors on the doors and the windows, beautiful balconies, wood balconies that have been painted, red tile roof. But there are also quite a few features inside the house.
Is that red tile roof original? I mean,
no, I wish it was, but.
But I mean, was it red tile back then?
It was red tile originally, yes.
Yeah.
So, but inside the house we have hand-painted ceiling beams, wooden ceiling beams with designs that Bill Hart himself actually put together. So we also have amenities that his sister, he did live in this house with his sister Mary Ellen. She wanted included in the house as well. So we have a French food warmer in the formal dining room.
Wow. So Any special programs planned for families or kids coming up?
Coming up, yes, we are doing a monthly after-school program on Friday afternoons. It's called Happenings at Hart.
Happenings at Hart.
Happenings at Hart, and you can find out more about that on our website, but it is geared towards elementary school students, fun activities to do when they get out of school. Come hang out in the park and do things like make your own Oscar trophy. That's what we're doing in March. We also have coming up, Supervisor, the youth filmmaking workshop. That's coming up in July and August of this year.
Fun.
And that's for teenagers and preteens who are interested in film as a career and making
that's great.
films. Yeah.
So they probably have on-site folks. But listen, I got it before we have to leave. I have to talk to you about this. I understand that the museum is haunted.
Wow.
Is that true?
Well,
I mean, you look okay. I mean, you haven't been attacked by any ghosts or anything, right?
No. You know what? It depends on who you talk to. Because there are those who have visited, there are those who have worked in the museum who have felt presences there. Luckily, all the stories we have heard have been positive. But I personally have never experienced anything. So I cannot say for sure whether or not it is or not.
So you can't speak. I mean, there's rumors, okay? I mean,
there's rumors, yes.
I'm just saying there's rumors. So I just, did anybody feel haunted during the day, or has it been at night, or?
It's been during the day.
Wow.
We have had some guests, for example, who have
Really?
come through, and they have sensed different presences at different parts of the house.
They didn't see Bill, did they? Bill Hart? No.
They have not in recent years, but in the good old days, they had seen him hanging out in his bedroom.
So what is your webpage?
It is www, of course, .hartmuseum.org.
.org. Okay. And how do they get there?
How do they get to the Hart, or how do they get to the museum?
How do they get to the museum?
How do they get to the museum? We are just off the 5 freeway. So if you're coming from Los Angeles, head north on the 5 through the San Fernando Valley into the Santa Clarita Valley, and we're right there at the first exit off the 14 freeway.
You're off the 14 freeway?
Off the 14, yeah.
Up on a hill, a house
on a hill.
I think President Reagan used to talk about the house on the hill, right?
That's us, and yes, you can still enjoy all the amazing views that are up there too. So.
Well, Rachel, I really appreciate you taking the time and to fill us in on the William S. Hart Museum. I know it's a jewel that a lot of people have talked about, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come down and share all the facts and figures and to sort of deal with that haunted issue.
You'll have to come and visit and let us know if you sense anything.
If I feel anything,
you'll let us know.
I'll let you know right away. So once again, Rachel Barnes, we appreciate her taking the time to be with us, and that's the William S. Hart Museum.
Dinner makes a difference. Learn more at casafamilyday.org.
Thank you again for tuning in to Dialed In. I want to thank our special guests for taking the time to join me today, Dr. Jane Pisano, as well as Rachel Barnes. They do great work with our Los Angeles County museums, and I really appreciate them taking the time to join me today. The Museum of Natural History and the William S. Hart Museum provide hours of entertainment for the whole family. The kids will enjoy the dinosaur exhibit in the bug hall, while the parents will enjoy getting the kids out of the house and into a learning environment. If you would like more information about the family of natural history museums, as well as all of Los Angeles County's art and cultural museums, please visit lacounty.gov for details as well as locations. Thank you again for tuning in to Dialed In. We'll be back next month with an all-new show.